So hello everyone, I'm Aritz Labrador. I'm one of the project managers of Valencia 2019, the 90th International Session of the European Youth Parliament. And today I'm coming here with a fundraising strategy module so that we volunteers from the European Youth Parliament get acquainted a bit with the strategies that we can follow in order to have a proper fundraising strategy for our events, which are fundraising based. First of all, we are kind of trying to define what fundraising is, because we sometimes, like, the first word that comes to our mind, because the exact word, if we divide it, says raising funds, so getting money. But actually fundraising, it's kind of a different thing, let's say. For us, fundraising is building a network, building partnerships. So this means connecting with other companies to create a solid network of partners. And then the second step, let's say, would be asking for collaboration with these partners and then getting money so that our event can finally happen in the end, right? But as I said, fundraising is not only getting money. So it's building a partnership or a network of partners and supporters. So how do we build a partnership exactly? Let's say that we have different steps. The first step is the case study. So before we actually contact anybody, we need to take into account that it's very important that we investigate first. We look for the basic information of the company, of the institution or foundation that we are trying to get the collaboration with. So for that, we will see afterwards. Then we need to go to initiation. So we are starting the collaboration itself. Then we contact them. We try to find common objectives and so forth. After the contact, it comes the contract, which is basically putting into words the partnership itself, what we want to collaborate on. And this collaboration must be always two ways. And then after signing a contract, then we would have the follow-up, which is basically maintaining this contact and finally evaluating the partnership itself. So first of all, we are starting with a case study. So what kind of company, what kind of foundation, what kind of public institution do we have in front of us? It's very important to know a bit more about this before contacting, because we cannot go to any company and ask for money, as we almost everyone tend to do in our EYP events. It is very important that we analyze how many workers work in that foundation or in that company, because this is going to give us the size of the company. And a bit related to that is the annual budget, because of course we cannot be asking for 15K to a company that has not a very big budget. So depending on the budget and the size of the company, we can definitely go for a type of collaboration or another type of partnership. So it is very important that the first step is investigating a bit more about the company. We can do this in very, very many platforms. There are so many, like, it depends on national level, but in every country, there's always a guide to business in this kind of things. So especially if they're big companies, you can see their annual budgets and their size in these kind of pages. But also LinkedIn. LinkedIn is quite useful for this. We will be talking about this afterwards as well. But it's a very nice tool to actually get into the world of companies, of business, and check their size and their annual budgets and so forth. Also their websites, because then we can see their objectives as a company, their long-term objectives and goals, and also, well, in general, their vision towards their work, basically. It's very important that we analyze them first. Second step is initiation. So basically setting goals. Before we contact, actually, we need to set our goals. So what do we want to get from them, for example? But before anything, and before thinking about ourselves, let's think about others first. So that means that first, please do think about how can we support them and what can our event offer to them. So this is even more important than getting, because as I said, fundraising is not about getting money directly, but building a relationship first and then going for money. That's the main key point here in the whole module today. So we set our own goals. What do we want to get from them? But as much, it's more important to actually think about the services that we can offer, and our event, of course, can offer something. So both the event and our organization as a volunteering European Youth Parliament big network can offer. And then how we can get in touch. So I try to find a contact. Of course, it's very important that when we get a contact, which is the next one, we find a person in the company or the foundation or the public institution. Try to avoid any kind of email which is info@whatevercompany.org or .com, and try to find a specific person. For that, use Google wisely, use LinkedIn again. When you get into the profile of a company, you can scroll down and find the workers and their position in the company. So try to find, for example, CEOs, or you can find project managers, or kind of serious people up there in the company. So try to find these people, because they are the people who can actually manage and can offer new ideas to the company, because they're very used to receiving so many applications or so many projects and ideas that you need to contact the right person to get across. And then the telephone. Yeah, I forgot about the letters as well. I think letters work so much, especially because it's a way to get to the desktop of the CEO, for example, no? Because if we tend to use a lot the emails, but then we forget that emails normally or can get to spam, for example, if we send an email generally to lots of people or a full list of contacts, and also the emails can get lost, basically, because they might receive so many emails in their inbox. So sometimes it's very difficult to get across, to go beyond the inbox and actually get read and so forth. So email, instead of email, use letters. That's more effective, even though it's more time consuming. It's more long term, because sometimes institutions can take 2 or 3 months to respond. But if you have an event which is preparation is 1 year before, then I think it's 3 months is quite good to get proper support. And then the telephone. I'm not using it more as contacting them directly, but trying to find the right person with a telephone. So have patience, and basically when you call a company, you can just, can you put me with the department of marketing, for example, which is a department that we can use. We can contact them a lot in any company. Or can you put me with whoever? And then they will be step by step connecting you with other people in the company, and finally you might get to a certain people in the company who have the power to change anything in the company, or propose an idea. Yeah, that's it. And then, of course, it's the contract. We can have a couple of type of contracts, let's say, in general and in an EYP context. First of all is a contract which is more concrete, and it's related to one specific activity of sponsoring. For example, it's very useful for in-kind, for example, that you kind of close with them. You get to an agreement where you, for example, you offer whatever service, and in exchange they will give you an exact amount of biscuits, for example, or something for coffee break, or a food, for example. No, so I think it's very concrete, something more specific, that you don't really need a law kind of context in between. And then a long-term partnership, which is of course, in general, the document is longer as well, and it's more general in terms of instead of being concrete for an event, normally it's between two organizations or two institutions or two companies that they want to work together and they want to collaborate for their own objectives. So it's not concrete to one certain thing of the event, but in general, a partnership includes and involves a greater part of the organization, let's say. And it's very important that in the contract, we define the type of collaboration that we want to have, and that we define the role of both signing parts. So not only We put the points where we are talking about what we offer, what we're going to do from our side, and what they are going to do from their side, but also that we define who is going to do what and who is the contact person for what thing. Because maybe sometimes the company offers so many things, and then you have to contact one contact for a communication strategy on how to sell our event, or how we sell their sponsorship, or another exact person for deliveries, for example. Putting this into an EYP concept, for example, it would be the communication department would be in charge of making the advertising in Facebook or in the logo table, but the events and support department, in our case in Valencia, will be in charge of managing everything related to the delivery of that product. So it's very important that we define the role from the very beginning, and it's actually written in the contract. Then it's the follow-up, so keep in contact during the following months before the event, and make sure that all the contact points are fulfilled from their side and from your side, of course. And finally, we have the evaluation. First of all, we have the feelings and feedback on the collaboration. So you can always feel free to approach the companies or the foundations with whom you have contracted something, and ask about their feelings about after event, how they felt, or during the event, how they felt, if this partnership was useful or not for their company, and if not, or if they saw something that was not professional, how we can improve. Remember that EYP is a platform that gives us the opportunity to learn from our mistakes, and especially because we, after an event, we have another event coming, and so forth. So it's essential that we share our knowledge with the next people coming, as we are doing now, for example, in this module. So it is very important that feedback culture is very important in our organization. We actually use it even with sponsors. I think it's quite enriching for both sides. And then the long-term partnership. This is referring to the event, especially. So when we go to the event and the sponsors are invited, try to use that space for networking, especially because a little contract with an in-kind sponsor can actually be the starting point of a big long-term partnership for the future. So always try to invite the people to the event, for example, to the opening ceremony or to the Euro concert, which are some kind of special events where we have dinners afterwards and can be used for networking. Yeah, cool. Having said that, let's go to the next big part of the module, which is types of collaboration. Here we're going to be talking about different types of companies or institutions we can contact. The first one is the private sector, so the private companies and businesses. The second one, with these people, we can get normally grants or lump sums. So we try to find these companies who have a large amount of money and that we can get something from them. So a large amount of money, basically 20K, 30K, 40K, depending on the country and depending on the size and budget of this company, of course. Then there's the foundation. Take care with foundations, because sometimes we think that foundations are the people who give money just for free. But remember that some foundations, like the foundation itself is an institution that its main objective is to get money for investing. This investment can be in external parties, which are the foundations that can be related to and can be useful for our events, or for internal parties. So take into account that a foundation can also and can only be destined to investing in their own activities. So we need to find this kind of foundations who are not only investing in their activities, but also invest in activities, external activities. So they can actually sign a contract with us and invest. This is an example of a very clear example is the FATCA Foundation from Berlin, which is our umbrella organization of the European Youth Parliament. And of course, we always sign contracts with them for projects such as international sessions, other sessions or understanding Europe, for example. Also, foundations can offer some grants with applications that you can download from the websites or call them and try to find them. And of course, writing applications and hopefully being successful and getting this money from them. Then we have public institutions. They normally work with grants, scholarships, and subventions. For us, it's quite important because normally with this money, it's not just money, but also the people and the institution behind. So I think it's one of the targets that must be one of the targets. That's why it's in the center. For us in Valencia, for example, it's been very useful to have this before actually getting money and working for some subventions and scholarships. We signed support letters for the bid of the international session. And afterwards, we also signed more support letters so that we could use their logos in our communication material. So supported by whoever, even though they don't give money, this gives a cachet for the event. When we go to contact other companies or other foundations, if we have this institutional support, it's very important. Related to this, I would say the people behind. We can always contact these people with as patrons of the event. And I would recommend it 100%. So that the foundation, like the financial affairs department of the event, it's also connected to the protocol one. And not only we get money, but we get patrons and people, personalities for the event, because this will give a better picture and a better image of ourselves, and will sell better in front of other companies. Then we have crowdfunding that you might know. It's a new tool and a very modern tool now to be used. Even though normally the product is the achievements are not as great and as high as the work that you can put behind. It's basically a platform, setting a platform online where you can get money by donations from people. This can be very useful for shorter amount of money, but as I said in the description of the teaser, every cent counts. And for example, in the case of Valencia, we didn't have any money 1.5 years before the event starts, and with the crowdfunding, we got the first amount of money. Even though there were only 200 or 300, it was enough to print some dossiers or some fundraising kind of documents that would then be used with sponsors. So even though you might think that it's a shitty thing, it's quite good, and actually it might help in the very beginning to get some money and some funds to invest on materials that can be useful afterwards. In kind is the other one, which is related to private sector. It's basically not getting money, but getting a product or a venue, for example. I think it's very important to use this. It depends on the country, but for example, in Spain, it's not very easy to get money from public and private sector. So we generally tend to go to in-kind. And why do we say that in-kind is quite important as well? Because whatever you get from in-kind, it's something that you don't have to spend during the session. So if you get coffee break from in-kind, for example, it's 2,000 or 3,000 euros that you can save from the event, for example. So I think it's quite a tricky thing, quite a nice thing to get, because companies offer their product more easily than money, and also because depends on the amount of food they have left over for the like by the time of the event. But generally speaking, we can also close even sign contracts with the amount of food we are offering. Then we have externally paid services, which is quite a new thing in EYP, I think, and it's not going to a company to ask money or ask their product, but to go to a company or institution and ask to pay a service that is going to be provided by another company. This is very useful for caterings, for example. Imagine we have an opening ceremony and then we have a catering contracted for the dinner afterwards. In this case, instead we can have like different parts, different kind of collaborations. We can have an in-kind if the company is giving us the money is giving us the food for free. We can have a partnership with the private sector company if they give us money, or we can have an externally paid service. So this means that another company or a public institution pays the bill produced by this catering, which is very useful. And normally we tend not to use it, but it can be very, very useful because big companies can get a tax reduction afterwards. And sometimes they're very interested into investing this way and not with a donation, because when you do it with a donation, they have to pay a special tax, especially in Spain, or at least in Spain, a donation tax, which by the end of the year, of the economic year, it can be not very beneficial for these companies. So it's an opportunity there that you can also use, and I think it's a very nice idea to have. As I said, it is very important not only to think what we can get from them, but what we can offer. For that, we are going to see the services and the kind of things the products we can give in exchange. The first one is the brand development strategy for branded actions. This refers to the basic thing that we do normally with image and picture of this company. So we can offer, we as EYP'ers and our projects can offer a product placement or a logo placement in our channels, communication channels. Can be in our roll-up, can be in our website, in the logo table, in any printed material, and so forth. This is very beneficial for companies, especially for companies that are growing or need further projection in your country. So that's a good thing to get. Then data gathering and product feedback from participants. This is something that is not very used in EYP events, but we tried in Valencia. We got one sponsor which was very, very interested in this. And it's basically when companies have a new product that has not been sold yet, or they want to try it with some participants. So it's very useful, for example, in a coffee break that they offer product for free. And at the same time, they have a stand where they can receive feedback from participants. It's a way to get some money in a way, or also a way to get food for free, for example. Then ad hoc partnerships between organizations. That refers to NGOs, or little associations, student associations, and so forth, that can be can offer different types of collaboration, not only money, but for example, external training, or this kind of academic input, for example. This can be very useful because we can offer them our experience as a big network, and they, as a small organization, for example, they can offer an academic asset or a training asset to the event, which is very, very interesting as well. Then special invites to dinners and ceremonies. Of course, we can offer a spot in the opening ceremony, in your concert, or in any other innovative event, for example, a fair, or whatever you organize in a session. It's very useful for them because they, in the end, get the way to see our organization from within, and we offer them a clear image of what we do and how we are. And of course, getting to dinners with other sponsors is very important for certain companies. So not only getting to see and to know us, but also getting to know the rest of the sponsors. So it's a very clear place to show, to offer a networking space, basically, which is very, very interesting for us and for them. Then a product placement and exposure opportunity. This offers basically a specific product that can be shared, normally related to in-kind, but it can be used, for example, with materials, with post-its, for example. Imagine that we contact 3M, which is the company that designs this post-its, and we use lots of post-its, so why not using their post-its? And at the same time, we exposure some special big post-its, for example, which are not currently used, or they're not in the market or something like that. Then we have indirect digital and online marketing opportunities, anything that we can offer in our platforms and in our social media. It is very important that we share that our social network statistics as well. We have a very important reach, not only in a national level, but international level. The network and the Schwarzkopf Foundation have a pretty broad reach in terms of Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. So I think it's very useful to share these numbers with the people you are trying to get this partnership with. Of course, we have also invitation to other session elements and topic focus or customization and brand examples. This means also that we can try to figure out with them if we can reach a consensus with a topic, with the wording of a topic, or with the idea of a topic. For example, a car company can come and say, hey, I'm now currently investing in green cars, in electric cars. Why don't you debate about this? Because it can be beneficial. They can, you with your resolutions, you can give me input, and I give you in exchange money, for example, or even these green cards, which can be very useful for organizers to move from one side to the other during the event. We can give them a stand during fairs or during coffee breaks. We can, well, basically in general, making them be part of the session in a way, and not just being someone who's external to the session and is just giving us money from the distance, but just try to make them be part of the event. And now I think we're going to go to the more practical part of the module. We're going to just see the tools that we can use during our networking and partnership building period. Let's start with some of the documents that I have here prepared. So before we start, I'm just going to share some of the documents here. The documents are generally in Spanish, but I'm trying to use them in a way that you can understand. If you have any doubt, you can always use the chat to ask for anything concrete, or otherwise at the end of the module you can ask. And if you need any document or whatever, feel free to ask. The first of all I'm going to use is the mission vision. It's one of the documents that was updated once after the other, and it's a way to kind of organize the work within the financial affairs department, in this case in Valencia. This document is a document that we use during our organizing process to define a shared vision, so that the whole department has the same common vision and has the same objectives to get during the next 1 month, 2 months, or 3 months. Of course, the mission, which is quite the same, and a motto that they actually try to do. Everything was built upon commonly, so like in a Skype meeting or in a presential meeting, face-to-face meeting, we all discussed on this, and we reached consensus in this way. So I think it's quite useful. And then what kind of things we want to get. It's very important to set aims and objectives, and also quantities that we want to get. So for example, here we have scholarships and subventions, so public funding, Erasmus Plus, we want to get this, or in this case, we got this. This is something that we want to use to get in March 2019. Private companies, we want to get this amount, and this amount from every company. Foundations, we have this foundations brainstorming done, and we want to contact this during the next months, and so forth. I think this document just resumes a bit and sums up a bit the importance of getting a clear aim and clear objective for every month. This, of course, related and of course complemented with a timeline that must be used all times. Then talking about the sponsors and the kind of sponsorship and tools we can use for them and with them. The first of all I'm going to use is the presentation dossier. It's something that we use in Valencia to share a general view on the session. Of course, it's something that it's very useful, but it's a bit tough. It's a long thing, and of course, it gives lots of information about the session. So you need to take into account that I'm going to share with you so many tools, but you need to select the tools depending on the type of the company that you have previously investigated, basically in the first step. So when you have done your case study, you need to check if this is useful for them or not. In general, something that other sessions and other national committees don't do, and is that this sponsors logo table is used in the very beginning. Lots of people use it in the end. We in Valencia used it in the very beginning. I think it's very essential because it shows the network of companies and institutions that you have built up to now. Why it is very essential? Because every sponsor, when it's more likely not to get to the end of the document. So when they see this in the very beginning, they can definitely see and check that lots of people have been cooperating with you, and this might trigger, in a way, a feeling of, yes, I want to help them again, or I want to help them too. So my recommendation would be to add this in the very beginning of the document. Then, of course, we have a definition of what the EYP is and what EYP is Spain. So in this case, when we are offering this is sponsorship to somebody from Spain, this would be very useful because we're offering also the history of EYP Spain and the presence and the amount of events that we organize every year. As you know, EYP Spain is very known for the amount of regional sessions that we offer. So I think this, for example, this point is quite important in our case, because we organize 15 events per year, which is quite important and quite an important thing to highlight. Then what a session is, what international session in this case, team building, committee work, and general assembly as a general perspective. As you can see here, we also add quotes from supporters. As I said before, we normally received and we sent and received support letters. And in the end, people we can copy and paste quotes from this. And in this case, we have the head of the royal household of Spain, which is very important. It's kind of the first person in the household who is not part of the royal family. So this important person has said this about the European Youth Parliament and about Valencia 2019. So in this case, it's something that we can use in our dossier as well, to share a bit the partnerships that we have been building. Why Valencia? It explains about Valencia. This can be very useful for for companies who are not present maybe in Valencia. Again, same thing with more quotes from, for example, the first deputy mayor of the city council and the president of the autonomous community of Valencia. So they're very important people who have chosen to support us. And it is very essential that, as you can see in every page, there is something about a supporter. So we can show that we deserve to be supported and be helped. Again, another one here, event framework. What for us, it is very essential to show that Valencia is not just, or a session in general, is just not a concrete event that it's held for one day, but that is a framework of so many events and activities that are held during a couple of days, 3, 5, 10 days. So here we try to explain this. And then the vision and the personal vision of the event. In this case, we want an eco-friendly, social, and local event. So we highlight this especially for sponsors that are quite related to these objectives, which is quite a trend at the moment and can be easily used to attract people. Then the concepts behind, more related to the motto, sailing towards new horizons in this case, and a bit explaining why do we organize this and why do we sail toward new horizons. So what does this mean? Then the contacts and the partnerships, how we are open for partnerships and how we have had other partnerships in the past, and we have built a partnership network, which is something that we highlight a lot in Valencia, and of course the contact people. So Maria Granero and Aritz, who are the project managers of this event, and that's it. So some tips on getting this dossier done. Another dossier that we use a lot is the fundraising dossier, which is more visual. and it's something that I want to share with you because for us, it's more for fundraising opportunities, more visual and more catchy, as you can see. So we have the logo first, and then let me put the 2 pages version. Yeah, what the EYP is in general. So our vision in general, pictures, so many pictures, and very graphic. In this case, we offer our values, which normally are quite neutral, as you can see, and anybody can be attracted by this. So I think it's very useful to highlight this. And quotes from delegates and for participants, a unique place for Europe to hear the youth's voice. Very important to share this. Valencia in numbers. We don't add so many text here. We try to use numbers. Because in general, to many companies, it is very important to see numbers, basically. How many participants we're getting, how many countries, which is the age reach for the participants, how many days, how many topics, and so forth. The power of our network. Now we are sharing that this event is not only held in Spain, but it's part of a network of more than 40 countries that organizes more than 500 events per year, and that involves more than 30,000 participants per year. With this, what we are offering the company is, or the institution is, let's say the international perspective of the event, which is quite useful in case of an international session. But any kind of session, even a regional session, can be shown as this, because in the end, volunteers are coming from all over Europe. Then the main numbers of social media, I think it's very essential and very important. Social media are gaining a very, very important point and presence in our everyday life, and companies mind about this, and they I think it's something that matters to them. And then, of course, what we can offer in exchange, a bit of copy paste of the previous thing that I explained. Explaining shortly what an international session is, and a bit with numbers again, very graphically. Again, what we do in EYP, so this is an alternative thing. So depending on the sponsor type that we have, we would use the first dossier that I showed, or this one. And then building a path with sponsors. So we try to use this, which graphically shows the different steps and the different roles that a company can take. So visibility 1 would be less than 1,500, for example. Visibility 2 and visibility 3. Depends on what kind of visibility level you are. We will be offering some benefits or other benefits. So try to see, for example, visibility 1, basic thing. Visibility 2 offers the benefits from visibility 1 plus some of the things, and so forth. And after visibility, which would be only a cooperating company to the distance, we would have the next step, which would be presence. Presence 1, presence 2, and presence 3, which is basically the same as visibility, but also includes being part of the session with inviting them to dinners with a visible roll-up of their logo, having a stand in their fair, a specific Facebook post, or even topic customization that we will see afterwards, and so forth. And then the last one, let's say, is the main sponsor. So being one of the biggest ones and being in the logo table, the very first one. With this, of course, and this cooperation would be more than 15K, as you can see here. We will give all the benefits that we can see, and even think of many more that can be new and innovative for them. For example, a possibility to suggest other compensations, or having a customized project with the media team. Maybe this is very useful as well for the media team to have more a new idea, for example, and for the company can be very beneficial because they work together. Then I'm going to go to element budgets. As I said, sometimes we can sell parts of the event, and it's something innovative, I think, that in other sessions is not used, and we're kind of using it now for the first time in Valencia and in previous sessions, previous international sessions for the first time. So this basically is selling a committee, selling a communication strategy, or selling a delegation. You can sell more and more things. You can sell transport, you can sell the general assembly or session elements such as Euroconcert, a fair, or so forth. You can sell so many things, but you have to budget first these things. For example, a committee. How do you budget a committee? Well, a committee normally for us is composed of, in this case, 15 delegates in an international session, a chairperson, a journalist, and 2 organizers. So what we do basically is we budget the accommodation, the living expenses, the coffee breaks, the transport, materials, and travel expenses. So we budget everything for these people, and then we have a total. So a committee in this case would cost around 11K. In Valencia, we have tried it and we got, for example, a couple of topics were bought. So in this case, a company buys a committee, and in exchange, we offer them the opportunity to suggest a topic and also an expert with that. So it's something that we do in Valencia. It was very useful and something that you can use, of course. A delegation, this, for example, can be used to try to get money from, I'm not sure how to say this in English. I forgot the term. It's going to come to me. Anyways, yeah. Basically, you budget here the amounts of delegation of the delegate XXX, for example, the Norwegian delegation or the Swiss delegation. Then you would see how many spots they have, and then you have a chaperone, a chairperson, a journalist, and an organizer. And same thing, accommodation, meals, coffee breaks, and so forth. And in this case, for example, with these participants, it would be 7,000. But if I get a greater delegation, then it will be more money, of course. I can't get them term, but if it comes to me, I will tell you afterwards. Of course, this is to be used with embassies. That's what the word that it couldn't come to me. With embassies and with national agencies or national companies from other countries that can be interested in supporting their own participants or participants from their country of origin. Then communication, well, this would be referring to any communication thing that would be used, or you can sell the media team as well. You can sell, in this case, we're selling the media team. 15 media team members, 2 editors, and 2 organizers, for example. Plus website, merchandising, or whatever you need, and also anything, basically. You can budget anything and you can sell anything. I think it's very useful. Of course, then you have to think about the services that you can offer in exchange, and of course, it has to be related with that. So as I said, for example, if you are selling a committee, the service that you can give in exchange is offering a spot for an expert and selling a topic, for example. So these kind of things. Good. Then other tools that we can use is a contract. As I said before, it's more concrete. In this case, this, for example, is it's in English, actually. You can use and I can share. It's a contract that can be used for agreeing on something concrete. So this would be the data of the people, and this would be the data of our organization, and representing the organizations themselves, we agree on first. Well, that the project managers are going to commit to add the logo sent by the external party to all the online media at any point you want, basically. But it's more concrete. And here, for example, that the external party is going to give 300 kilograms of rice, for example, to build a very nice paella here in Valencia. I'm not sure, whoever. And then you sign, and yeah, that will be it. Remember that the contract makes something more official, and putting it into words is very, very important. And then a partnership, which as you will see, this is more general. For example, this that I'm sharing here is a partnership between a very big foundation in Spain and the European Youth Parliament Spain. So in this case, it's a longer document, and it needs it needs to have a legislation around. That's why it's longer. And in this case, we add here, for example, the article of this civil law in Spain and references to law, of course, as you can see here. And then we would then have the points of the sponsorship, different points that you can get. For example, in this case, that they are paying 15K before this deadline and 500K after before 25th of June, for example. So as you can see, and then you can share here the things that you're going to offer in exchange. This was the one that I said before that bought the General Assembly. So they bought the General Assembly. And from now onwards, we said that the General Assembly is called General Assembly sponsored by Fundación Princesa Girona. So anything can be possible. So be creative in that way and don't just stick to the traditional fundraising strategies. And then an email. How should an email look like? It doesn't have to look like this, but the structure should be kind of this. First paragraph, general explanation of EYP. Second paragraph, general explanation of Valencia or the event, in this case. Then again, showing the institutional supporters or other supporters that we have already, because remember that everything is is about building a big partnership of a network of partnerships of partners, and not only going for money. So here show that we have a network built already. Then a personalized paragraph. It is very important that the email has to be tailored specifically to the needs of that company. So in this case, this has to be personalized. In this case, it was an energy security company. So in this case, we are adding, for example, your aim is, as stated in your website, your aim is this, this, and this, and we come along with you. This can be shown, for example, in the next paragraph, which is a convincing paragraph, and you can make sure that both entities can have a relationship because we have common goals, and that is why our this partnership would be beneficial for both sides. So this kind of thing. Of course, you can make it shorter and attach more information in the email, or you can make it longer and not attach anything, or attach a visual dossier such as the one that I showed before. Good. About the categorization that we saw before with visibility and presence kind of sponsors, depending on the amount of money that they give, we can always give them a more clear part, a more clear document that shows the money and the services that we can offer in exchange. This is the example that we use in Valencia. Visibility 1, visibility 2, visibility 3. Same thing as I explained before, but in a more visual way. So as I said, these are tools that you can use free. You can take a dossier which is more explained, you can use one which is more graphical, or you can just share this specific document, which is more than useful. Social networks, again, you can use, it's part of the other dossier, but you can always share the numbers in a more concrete way. For example, here, Facebook and the posts, how many people it reaches, how many interactions you have, as you can see, depending on the month, and so forth. Everything are statistics that are available to you in Facebook, in your Facebook page statistics part section, and you can use them as a benefit to attract other sponsors. And then the logo table. This is the logo table of Valencia 2019. And here you can see, for example, the amount of sponsors that we got for the event. Again, add this wherever it's necessary because it shows clearly how much you worked to get and to build a partnerships network and a partners network, which is very useful to attract people, basically. Remember that there are some sponsors that can always be used by the international office, such as the Schwarzkopf Foundation, normally the Mercator Stiftung as well, and so forth. So try to contact the international office if you need some logos to start with. And also remember that you can always add the logos of the ones that are not giving you money but are institutionally supporting you, such as the regional Council of Valencia, or the Autonomous Community of Valencia, or so forth. So you can use them to attract people. And these, of course, are in kind down here. So you can use them as well, even though they are giving you some, for example, SafeSea, who's giving us sunscreen for the participants. We can definitely use them as well, even though they're giving us only how many products, I don't know, but just a little amount. Use them first. Then if you see that there's so many logos there and that it's just a small collaboration, you can delete it. But remember that these logos in the end are offering you a spot in the general perspective of the event when you're sharing it with other sponsors. Then I just wanted to share with you this document, which is in the members platform, and it's called Understanding the EYP. It is very important to have a clear mindset of what the EYP is concretely, because what I see, and this is very important, especially for meetings, when you go to meetings, there's so many people that just go to the meetings and share their own vision of what the European Youth Parliament is. Please make sure to read this document and read through before you go to a meeting, and also to share this with your teams if you are a team leader or a project manager, because it's very important to have the same exact vision for all the sponsors, and that you share what the European Youth Parliament actually is, and not something that it doesn't really have to be. It's very well explained, especially very visually, with the definition of every word in our name, what European means, what youth means, and what Parliament means. So not what Parliament, youth, and Europe means in general, but what Europe, youth, and Parliament means for us. So that would make it easier for us to share what the European Youth Parliament is when you go to a meeting. And I think I'm not leaving anything behind. I have the budget here, which is a general document that is very important. This is the skeleton of every fundraising strategy. Think about it, use it wisely. There is an example here in the members platform as well that you can download for every session. This can be adjusted for every session, and the Excel is quite prepared. A shout out here to another online module by Matthias Massini, who's actually here, who did a module on spreadsheets, and also touched upon a bit on the budgeting and creating a budget kind of document. So also go to that module and see that module, because it was very useful to actually understand how this document works. And then, well, as you can see here, you have per section all the concepts that you have to achieve, you have to work for during the session. So catering, accommodation, officials, training, travel reimbursements, and so forth. Please make sure to add a contingency here always. Add a contingency because you never know what can happen during the session. It can be a 5% or it can be a 7%. We went for 7%. You can add a 10% as well, but we went to a 7%, a bit above the regular thing, just to have a clear idea on this. Important on budgeting as well is to have different budgets. The most important ones are the minimum budget, which is this one. And it actually requires, it just has the minimum things, the realistic things, the realistic expenses that you need for the session to happen. So the basic things and the cheapest version, let's say. And then you have the ideal one, which is the one that you would use for a more dream-like session with higher prices and better quality caterings, for example. And then, of course, never forget to have the income always updated to know how much you received and how much you didn't receive, for example. In this case, also, you can remember that you can always connect one tab with the other. Matthias will show you how. And this is very useful as well for having just everything in one document. And finally, I'm just going to share with you an example of a creative fundraising activity that was held during Valencia. In this case, it's a morning money earning competition that we built here. We were in the very beginning, as I said, to get the minimum amount of money needed to print some dossiers or some visit cards. And we decided that over summer, which is especially August last year, which is an example of a month where companies don't tend to work or don't tend to be very active, we decided to organize a money earning competition within the organizing team. So everyone had to try to get money from I don't know, making lemonade in summer and selling it out as if the Simpsons were, or if, well, anything basically. And this was a thermometer that we saw here. So there were people who just did €0, such as me. Hey, I didn't get the amount I wanted. And then people like Laura Marca, who is of course, a clear example. It's the person who was the team leader, who is the team leader of financial affairs. She got 250 euros. So as you can see, it's not lots of money, but in the end we got 910 euros, which was it's actually 1% of the budget, which is very good to start with. Of course, because it's summer, and to start with minimum expenses such as the dossier printing or visit cards, as I said, or paying travel costs to meetings, for example, or kind of these things. So as I said, very useful and an example of a creative fundraising. Whatever other things that you want to use as well, feel free to use them. Feel free to use your mind to think about anything really related to getting money. And as I said from the very beginning, remember that getting money is the second step. The first step is, of course, building a relationship with that company, and of course, relationship by relationship, create a network of partners. So that's it from my side. I don't know if you have any question or anything to say. Thank you very much from my side, and on behalf of the whole organizing team and the whole officials team who have been working very hard. And special thanks to Ali, who was the responsible to set up the whole online modules initiative. Thank you very much to everyone, and good luck with your projects. Remember to have this strategy very clear before you go to organize an event and you start getting money from people. Remember to build a proper relationship first, and then ask for money or for anything you want from them. Thank you very much for hearing and for watching this. See you somewhere in Europe. Bye.